What's up guys, Jimmy here with another review. So a lot of you guys already know that I am a big fan of open world games, and I'm so excited to get to review for you guys today a new open world game, and that is Sleeping Dogs for the PlayStation 3. Sleeping Dogs is also available for the PC and Xbox 360, and I want to thank Square Enix for sending me a free copy of the game. I've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. So in Sleeping Dogs, you play as Wei Shen, and your location is Hong Kong, and you're sent in to infiltrate and take down a triad criminal empire. And so you're sent in and you're doing your best to make sure your cover isn't blown. And it's very interesting in this game how you have to play both sides of the fence, from criminal to cop, and it's done actually very well. I really don't want to give away any spoilers, but let me just say, in terms of the story had me interested from beginning to end, and it was very compelling. The actors were phenomenal. There were some A-list actors like Emma Stone that lended their talent to Sleeping Dogs. And if you go to imdb.com, type in Sleeping Dogs, you'll get a list of the actors. There's just so many actors and actresses that lended their talent to Sleeping Dogs, and I was really impressed with the quality of game in terms of the story. It was written very well and was very, very interesting. I was really interested to know, because there's a lot of twists in this game, because Wei has to kind of play that fence. Obviously he's a cop, but he's very loyal to a lot of the honor codes that's associated with this triad criminal empire, and it just was done very, very well. I was just really interested in it. So as mentioned earlier, Sleeping Dogs is an open world game. It is just a huge area for you to explore, and you can get from point A to point B in a variety of different ways. Obviously you can walk or run, which will take you forever for some of the missions. You can also take a taxi. You can also collect cars and vehicles for your parking garage. There'll be different safe houses located in the different areas and towns, and there's usually a parking garage outside your apartment or building you're staying at and resting up at, and you'll get to select either your motorcycle or car. You can also jack a vehicle. Now, some of the vehicles that you can steal in the game are pretty sweet, and it was just awesome to be able to find the different cars. Sometimes you'll have missions where you have to steal some of these hot cars and take them to a garage so you get rewarded. Now, there are a variety of different cars. Some of these cars are pretty sweet, pretty hot. Some of these are not so hot. So let's talk about the melee combat in Sleeping Dogs. Right off the bat, you don't get guns. You don't get machine guns and shotguns to take down your enemies. In the beginning of the game, it's actually quite a while before you pick up guns in Sleeping Dogs. But at the start of the game, you have a handful of moves you can take down your enemies with, whether it's kicks or punches. And it's actually done quite well. Sometimes there's a lot of guys coming at you, and you'll have the chance to use counter moves. See if there's a guy behind you coming at you, and you can take that enemy down. Now, I do have to say though, if you don't counter when you're supposed to, Wei is going to be left taking some time to recover, so he'll be left susceptible to other enemies' attacks if you don't counter at the right time or the right moment. Also, in areas when you have the chance to grab your enemy, there are certain moments in the game where you can use environmental takedowns. Now, this is actually very fun. Whether it was a toilet or an aquarium, and actually my personal favorite for takedowns out of all of them was picking up a guy and throwing him in a dumpster. But overall, I thought the combat worked very well, and really just laid the footwork for, basically, you are going to be using guns, but if you really have to make sure that you learn the melee combat well, and that you upgrade Wei by going to the dojo. That will really help you with not only your enjoyment, but effectiveness with playing through the story mode. So later on in the game, you do get the chance to use guns against your enemies, and at first it just felt kind of weird because I was so used to using melee combat, but as I had the chance to collect different weapons and use these guns against my enemies, I was really impressed with the cover mechanics in the game. It worked really well, but for me, the most fun that I had with these guns was through these chases with cars and motorcycles chasing me. These were some of the most exciting moments in the game. Were such a blast to play through, and it worked really, really well. Also, in other moments, you'll have the chance to hijack cars, jump from one vehicle to another, and this has been done in other games before, I know, but it was done very well in Sleeping Dogs. I was really impressed with it. Occasionally in the game, you will get the chance to use a boat. There was one part of the game where I was using my weapons in the boat with guys chasing me, and I just kind of felt awkward in terms of the camera. Perhaps I did not get the chance to. There weren't a lot of missions that involved boats with guns, but other than that, the chase scenes with the weapons, especially with the cars, worked very, very well. It was just a blast to play. So in Sleeping Dogs, there are RPG elements that I want to briefly talk about. Some of these elements are permanent and some of them are temporary. Briefly talk about temporary. Throughout Hong Kong, you have the chance to find different vendors who are selling drinks, selling food, and you buy the food or buy the drink, and it'll temporarily increase your abilities, which will really help you throughout the game.
Why don't you have a pork bun in your hand?
No, I think I should be asking you, why don't you have a pork bun in your hand?
A man who never eats pork buns is never a whole man.
Words to live by. So throughout Hong Kong, you also have the chance to find various health shrines, and as you visit these health shrines, you'll actually level up Wei's health. Another way you can level up Wei is depending on the different missions that you take on, whether it's for the triads or the cops or the side missions, there's other different upgrades or levels and special moves that you can acquire in the game that will really help you throughout the story and make it actually more enjoyable and more fun. So the visuals in Sleeping Dogs were actually pretty good. For whatever reason, I had the chance to talk to GameStar81 about this, but throughout the game, the nightlife looked great. The different lights and cars and people bustling by, it looked good, but for whatever reason, I really enjoyed the look of the daytime. The visuals in the game are really good. They're not incredible or amazing, but they're quite good for a sandbox game. Again, this game is huge and there's just so much to explore if you wish to do so. Various parks, basketball courts, food courts, clubs, bars, it goes on and on. Again, this is a huge, huge area for you to explore, and if you have the time and just want to check things out, you can do so. You don't have to play through the campaign. You can actually, first several hours, I was doing side missions, just having a blast doing that. I'm like, well, I kind of have to play through the campaign if I'm going to get to this review. But it's just a great looking game that I think you'll have a blast playing through. So in Sleeping Dogs, beside the missions and side missions, there are also other things that you can check out. There's a couple things that I didn't really enjoy, namely the karaoke and the cockfighting. Now, the karaoke, there is some decent tracks to select from for that, I will give it that, but the way it was executed with the left stick, it just didn't feel right. It was kind of wonky for me. I don't know, maybe you guys will enjoy it more than me. In terms of the cockfighting, you get to place a bet and see who wins. That was okay, you know, I see why it's in there, you know, kind of like a diversion from the campaign, or if you just want to take a break, but, you know, it was something that if it was not in the game, I'd be okay with. So the music in Sleeping Dogs is really good, and there's just a huge selection that you'll get to listen to throughout the game. When the credits were rolling for Sleeping Dogs, when I played through the campaign, it must have been like 5 minutes of credits dedicated to all the different tracks, maybe even longer than 5 minutes. There's just a huge track selection in Sleeping Dogs, which I got to hand it to the developer handpicking and making sure that all the music was in place, and that there was just a really nice list included. So guys, we've talked about the combat, both the melee combat and shooting mechanics in the game. We've talked about the visuals, the music, the openness of the game, side missions. There's a lot to Sleeping Dogs, but ultimately, is the game fun? Absolutely. Now, I will say that there is no multiplayer in the game. Now, could multiplayer work for Sleeping Dogs? I think it could. I think it could be really fun, but I do respect the developers for not shoehorning in a multiplayer experience. They wanted to make sure that Sleeping Dogs was a solid campaign, a solid single-player experience, which it is, and I think they succeeded very well at. The game is fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And after you play through the campaign, you'll still have the chance to go back with Wei and take on the different side missions and other areas that you have yet to explore, because there's a lot to explore. And that's why I give Sleeping Dogs a 9 out of 10. It's definitely not a perfect game, but I think you'll have a lot of fun with it, and I really, really recommend it. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later.